Page 183. It discusses the financial struggles faced by Jose Rizal while writing and publishing his novel El Filibusterismo. Despite his limited resources, Rizal moved to Ghent, Belgium due to its cheaper printing costs. He had to pawn his jewelry to cover the initial payment for the novel's printing. With the help of his friend Valentin Ventura, who provided financial assistance, Rizal was able to continue the publication of El Filibusterismo. The page also mentioned, or page 183, mentions that El Filibusterismo and its predecessor Noli Me Tangere were considered historical novels due to their depiction of Filipino society during Rizal's time. Page 184. This page continues the discussion of Jose Rizal's novel El Filibusterismo. It delves into the novel's setting, characters, and themes. The novel begins on a steamer traveling to Laguna de Bay, where Simeon, a mysterious figure, is introduced. Simeon is described as a wealthy jeweler with significant influence over the governor general. The page also mentions Basilio, a young medical student returning to his hometown, who is connected to the events of Rizal's previous novel, Noli Me Tangere. The page highlights the contrast between the romantic nature of Noli Me Tangere and the political focus of El Filibusterismo.
This part discusses the Filipino students' desire for assimilation and the rejection of the Spanish language and government. Simon, a wealthy Filipino, reacts vehemently to this program and advocates for the destruction of national identity and the institutionalization of tyranny. He plans a revolution to overthrow the government and kill the high officials, but fails due to various reasons, including Basilius' betrayal and Isagani's intervention. Simon eventually dies by suicide after being pursued by the Spanish authorities.
The Reluctant Revolutionary, Rizal's Vision of Independence. Rizal's El Filibusterismo is a novel that explores the concept of independence in the face of oppression. Through the character of Simon, a wealthy Filipino revolutionary, Rizal presents a complex and nuanced perspective on the struggle for freedom. Simon returns to the Philippines with a plan to overthrow the Spanish regime through a series of calculated actions. He seeks to undermine the government's authority by fostering corruption, economic instability, and social unrest. However, his plans are ultimately foiled by a series of events. Despite his initial intentions, Simon eventually comes to realize that independence is the only solution to the Philippines' problems. He recognizes the futility of his violent methods and the importance of the peaceful and just revolution. Rizal's novel offers a critical examination of the complexities of revolution and the sacrifices required to achieve freedom. It serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of perseverance, unity, and hope in the face of adversity.
The foregoing statements imply that, from the viewpoint of Father Florentino, God abandoned Simon in his struggle since he employed method unacceptable to God. On the issue of why Filipinos suffer, if God is a God of justice, Father Florentino countered Rizal in this manner. He is the God of liberty, who makes us love it by making the yoke heavy upon us. A God of mercy and justice, who betters us. He justices us and only grants happiness to him. Who was modified by his efforts, I do not mean that our freedom is to be won at the point of the sword. The swords count for a little in this distance of modern times, but it is true that we must win it by deserving it. Exactly reason at the dignity of the individual, loving what is just, what is good, what is great, even to the point of dying. When the people rises to this height, God provides the weapon and the idols fall, the shrines fall like a house of cards. We owe our truths to ourselves. Let us not blame anyone else if Spain were to see us. With training and more dispose us, to struggle and suffer for rights, Spain would be the first to give us liberty with or without Spain. They would be the same, perhaps, even worse. Why independence if the slaves of today will be triumphs of tomorrow? Rizal's message from the foregoing statement of Father Florentino is very lucid. If Filipinos will not contribute enough to protest and proclaim their rights, be willing to sacrifice and shed of their silence if the face of oppression and tyranny when they don't deserve to be given freedom. The conversation that transpired between Father Florentino and Simon during the dying moments of Simon goes to show that Rizal was a reluctant voluntary guerrero in 1998, while he has on the belief that isolation is not possible and that independence was the remedy to elevate and suffering to the Filipinos under Spanish rule. Rizal hesitates and backed down. The result thinking the Filipinos of his times were not ready for a revolution as they were not ready for independence. Guerrero 1998, they were not ready for independence as they were still unworthy to become independent. They will only be worthy of independence the moment they had learned to prioritize social good over their personal advantage and had become a nation. For Rizal, God would provide the means that the revolution or peaceful separation from Spain. From the foregoing, Rizal made it plain and clear that the Filipinos have to make themselves worthy of freedom before they can become independent. Deserving freedom, however, necessitates the need of the Filipinos to travel the following paths or roads: education, exemplary lives, and willingness to sacrifice for one's convictions. Rizal after the field. After the publication of El Fibrostimo, Rizal no longer shared the view of the reforms in the country will be granted by the Spanish government. He gave up to the idea of gradual and peaceful emancipation of the country, which is clearly constitutional and implemented in 1887, as stressed by Rizal in the fortitude correspondence. Peaceful struggle will just remain a dream, considering that Spain had not learned the lesson of its former consort. America Guerrero 1998, believing that reforms would no longer be granted by Spain. Rizal became a Esperantist. As a Esperantist, he was quite unique considering that he left to God the attainment of independence. After the publication of the Fili, Rizal was bitterly attacked and mocked by his fellow performers in Madrid. This can be accounted by the very radical and servified tone of the novel, which renounced the propaganda campaign for peaceful reforms and assimilation. This made Rizal decide to serve connection with the progressists and Madrid to avert possible split in their unity. Totally free and undetached from the progressists in Europe, Rizal hoped to return the Philippines to share misfortunes of his family.